In today's video, I'm taking you through a full month's income and expenditure for a new brand we recently launched on Amazon. I'm showing you what's worked, what hasn't worked so well, and hopefully giving you some things that you can deploy in your own brand to help you grow towards more profitability. Welcome back to the channel. If you're joining us again, if you're here for the first time, a very special welcome to you. My name is Ben. I'm a full-time brand builder and founder of brandbuilderuni.com, where our whole ethos, our whole goal is helping everyday normal people like you build a brand that lasts and a life that you love. And the hope of this video is to help you do exactly that. I've actually got 4 things I want to talk you through when it comes to documenting the income and expenditure of this new brand. I started this process last month, did it for February. It was only a couple of weeks because we just started selling in the middle of Feb. But today we're going to do the whole of March, which is going to be hopefully super insightful. However, numbers without context really aren't overly helpful. So I do want to give you some context and a few other things as we go on this journey of looking at these numbers. When I talk about context, it's how we're actually approaching the launch of this brand, because I see it all too often in the Amazon space is that we see these big launches and they get celebrated, and rightly so. You know, we would celebrate a big launch in our community too. We've had a whole bunch of them recently. Super exciting time. But what you'll often find with people that do a product launch and maybe generate 10, 15, 20,000 in their first 4 to 6 weeks as they launch their products, they end up most of the time having a stock out period that can then affect the growth of their business. That's understandable because when you first start out, you maybe don't want to order thousands upon thousands of units of inventory, and you maybe don't expect the volume on Amazon to be as significant as it is. You hear people like me talk about how big it is and what an opportunity it is, and you maybe don't fully believe it until you see it for yourself, and then you see it and you're like, oh crap, I should have ordered more inventory. If you do your product selection right, if you do your differentiation right, then there's a lot of potential for quick growth. However, what we often don't hear talked about then is the journey after that launch, which often involves stocking out and then getting new stock in, having to relaunch, and that then costing you profit as well because you're having to maybe discount or run promotions, do giveaways, run aggressive PPC, all of those strategies and more. And so what you can find yourself on is a kind of a conveyor belt of 2 to 3 inventory cycles of trying to feed the beast that is Amazon, but not really getting anywhere in terms of profit. And it's easy, honestly, if you don't do things right, it's easy to get through a year, look back and think, I haven't actually made any money, because you can find yourself in this cash flow cycle that can be a challenge to manage. And I know that because I've been a victim of it. A few years ago, I was quite new to selling on Amazon, launched a couple of high selling products, and I remember having a £50,000 month in January. Would have been 2017, 2018. And I remember thinking like I was literally the king of e-commerce. Like, what? I've had a 50 grand month. This is insane. I couldn't believe it. It was so crazy. Yet what I then discovered 4 to 6 weeks later was exactly the challenges I'm talking about in this video. I stocked out, competitors came in, made it hard for me then to re-rank when I got products in, and that £50,000 that seemed great didn't actually provide much profit at all in the long run. And so when starting this new brand, I wanted to kind of use everything that we've learned over the last few years, the struggles that we've gone through to get to where we are today, and really deploy in this brand to make sure that it sets it up for long-term health. Because I'm not interested in just being here in 3 months. I want to be here in 3 years and more. And I think as Amazon sellers, we often underestimate what we can do in the long term, but overestimate what we can do in the short term. This isn't just some case study just for YouTube content. This is a real brand that I've got a business partner on that I'm passionate about growing over the long term. So for that reason, our strategy, which is point 2, our strategy is actually to have a modest launch. Now, I was tempted, I will be honest, I was tempted because of, just human nature, knowing that I was going to document the income and expenditure of this brand to really go hell for leather and have a massive launch, almost kind of like validate what we teach on the channel. But I decided I don't want to just stroke my ego and then face those same challenges I faced before. I actually want to build this slowly so that we can grow it in profit over time. And that may, not look as successful early on, but over time, time, my hope is that it does just build into being a really strong brand that's profitable, makes an impact in its customers' lives, etc., etc. So that is a bit of the strategy. And how we do that, there's many ways you could do that, but how we're doing that initially is just targeting keywords on Amazon that are maybe lower volume, more specific to our products, and lower competition, trying to dominate those, trying to get our sales to kind of a certain level, and then manage our budgets to make sure that we're pretty consistent with those sales, and then reorder some stock. And when we've got the stock levels, then we can increase our ad spend, increase our sales, and slowly sort of pick it up over time. Now, there are of course things I can't control, and there may be times where we do actually stock out, and stocking out is a good problem to have because it means you're selling products. However, we do want to build this brand for the long term, so I'm keeping all of that in mind. So again, that just gives you a bit of context, talks to you a bit about our strategy, so that when you do see our numbers, hopefully it makes more sense to you, and you can maybe take what works for you, take what and spit out what doesn't, and apply it to your situation. So let's look at the numbers then. Last month, I talked through these numbers. I showed you how we'd made £2,700 in our first couple of weeks, which I was relatively pleased with, but it was only a couple of weeks, right? So there's only so much we can learn from that. I talked you through all those numbers and how ultimately we made a £400 loss, which a couple of people reached out to me and they were like, oh man, it's a shame you made a loss in your first month of the income report. I was surprised to see that, etc., etc. And I kind of said, well, did you watch the video? Because I explained why I'm not surprised and why I'm not, too bothered about it. But just again, to reiterate, we are investing up front for the growth of this brand. Too often, we're sold this dream that you can make money instantly on Amazon. We forget it's actually a real business, and any real business that you see launch products doesn't just launch products and assume profitability on day one. It actually invests in marketing up front so that you can actually grow your market share and then build profit on the back end of that. Again, just by way of reminder, we've invested obviously up front into the inventory of this business. I've put money into this business to buy inventory, which the company yet hasn't given me back. So that goes down on the books of the company as an investment into the company. But yet we have a whole bulk load of inventory. So if we did like, an asset statement, then the company would be, in the green. However, what we're looking at here is the product by product profitability as we grow. And so these expenses relate to these sales. These are the expenses that those sales have cost us to produce. So this is, like I say, it's a product by product, a month by month rolling case study. It's not that we're putting this money in, it's just showing how much these sales cost us to produce. Hopefully that makes sense. Let me know in the comments if that's not clear, and I'll try and clear that up. So final thing before we go on to March's numbers is this column down here, and this is the versus revenue column. I expanded this a bit more from last month. I only actually showed the COGS one, I think, last month, but I thought I'd expand it out to all of them. Now, what this is the amount, this expense here up against, as a percentage against this total revenue. Now, why that's helpful is because it's going to help you see where you can grow in profitability over time. You can set some healthy parameters of where these numbers should be at so that you can aim to go towards them. For instance, cost of goods sold, that's your product production costs, your shipping, import taxes, duties, that kind of thing. Ideally, in the long run, you don't want to be too much higher than 30%, ideally 25%, somewhere around that, to really create that margin for you. However, obviously we're launching right now, so it's a bit higher, but I wanted to document that percentage for you to be able to see how that's tracking over time and just really understand, I suppose, my mindset of how we're trying to really improve the profitability of the business. The other, I suppose, notable one would be the PPC spend. Did a video last week on ACOS versus TACOS, advertising cost of sale versus total advertising cost of sale, which is more important. And I look a lot more at TACOS, total ACOS, because it shows you really how effective your PPC spend is being on your overall business. And so that's why I like to document that figure there. Talked about how it's at 18% at the moment, and ideally we want to get that down towards 10% over the long run. So that's what those numbers are. Hopefully they make sense. And now let's take a quick look at March's figures. So gross sales for Amazon in the UK is £6,989 on the nose. Incredibly devastating that we didn't hit £7,000. We actually did. hit £7,000 because I checked the app on the day after. It said £7,000 for March. However, I don't know, we must have had a refund or something because here's a screenshot of our Amazon seller account. That's the sales that it shows. That's what I've got to put down here devastatingly. Not that £7,000 is some crazy milestone. However, I thought it was a nice round number. But almost at £10,000 in total sales now in around 6 weeks, which is, a great achievement, and I'm super pleased with that. But more importantly, we're going to look at the expenses because revenue for vanity, profit for sanity. And I don't get in this game to just make revenue to post screenshots. I get in this game to build long-term profitable assets that can, provide for the life I want to live, for the impact I want to make. And so that's why we're doing it. So let's take a look at that. Okay, first line item, cost of goods sold, £3,010.12. So good, really healthy on this is because we have gone from 48%. It's actually gone down to 43%. So a good 5% reduction in the percentage of revenue that is going towards cost of goods sold. That's because we're increasing our pricing. We are growing that pricing over time as we're getting more ranking and more reviews. Don't forget, a lot of these sales were achieved with 0 reviews on our products. And, a lot of these sales were still in the low reviews, but as we were starting to get more reviews, it was improving our conversion rate, which meant we could just nudge the price up a little bit, which is slowly but surely improving that percentage. So again, really happy with that. Next one, voucher rebates, £378.60. Again, super healthy shift this month on this one. We only spent slightly more, but obviously generated over 2 times the amount of revenue. And so that was, again, really, really healthy. The percentage has come way down on that, improving our profit levels because we have reduced the amount we're giving away. When we launched, we were doing aggressive 20%, 25% vouchers. Now we're doing sort of 10%, and that's really helping our profitability. FBA fees and Amazon referral fee, similar, just kind of moved a couple of percentage points, just based on the different timings, and also because I included the service fees in that this time rather than kind of keep separating those out, because the longer you go on and the more you sell, the date range report on Amazon gets way more detailed. So I'm trying to kind of bunch it down into as few categories as possible to make sure that it's makes sense. Next up is PPC spend. Now this is probably the only negative this month is our costs have actually gone up a little bit. 20% of our total spend or our total revenue was actually then invested into PPC. And now I mentioned last time, and I will document this a bit more in the future, the reason for that is because I have changed my PPC strategy where I was a lot more targeted with our launch process. That was actually a lot more profitable or a lot more cost effective. I've gone a lot more broad now so we can scale those campaigns, which is initially costing us more, but it will actually prove much better in the long run, I hope, because it has more scalability. Anyway, I'll be documenting that for you in a video in a few weeks' time once I've got more data to kind of show you what I've been doing and, it be meaningful and helpful for you. Amazon account fee and insurance, those two, the good thing about those kind of expenses is they're fixed expenses. So the more our revenue goes up, the smaller that percentage comes because those expenses aren't going to change unless we suddenly start doing 2 million a year or something and our insurance premium goes up. But you get the idea. Then of course, 3PL expenses I mentioned last month, we didn't have any because we hadn't paid any, but now we're starting to pay those. £421 for the month, which is a good 6% chunk of our revenue, which is quite high at the moment, namely because we are initially stored all of our products there, and so we were getting storage fees for all of our products and then also sending those products into Amazon, which I will talk about a little bit in a moment, how we're going to shift away from that in the future. So total expenses for the month of March, £7,472. For those mathematicians, you'll see again that we have made a loss. However, the loss for this month is £483 versus the loss of last month of £404. And the super encouraging thing for me is this number here, 6.91%. Now that is green, even though it's a minus, because the minus has come down. This is a green versus this number here. So whereas last month our loss was nearly 15%, this month our loss on paper is less than 7%. So we've done better than halving that number. And so as you can see, we're on the right track. I'm hoping that this month, the month of April, will actually break even, and then that'll be the first month we start that journey towards greater profitability. And so again, you might look at that and think, man, second month in, you lost money and you're trying to tell us to sell on Amazon, but you're losing money. Again, we're investing up front. We're spending a lot of money on PPC to get launched. We're reducing our price, which means that our cost of goods are expensive in relation to our revenue because we're launching these products. But we're establishing market share so that we can grow in profitability over the next few months, stay in stock, and then for the rest of the year, really begin to optimize and grow that. Finally, some next steps on what we're going to do in order to try and improve profitability, in order to just sort of round this video off and hopefully provide some helpful stuff that you can actually implement and improve your profitability in your brand. So of course we've got this minus 6.91% figure, which my goal, whether it's April or May, hopefully one of those 2 months, we'll actually get that to 0%, which will be break even. And then over the following couple of months, we'll start to then go into the green, start to be profitable product by product, and then grow the brand from there. The big areas that I'm looking to do that, of course, firstly, is going to be cost of goods sold. At the moment, that's 43%. I need to get that down, short term, I need to get that down to really 35%. That's going to give us another 8% on that figure. And but long term, really, I want to get that down to 30% or less if I can. How we're going to do that, of course, we're going to increase our prices so that actually our revenue is going to be higher on a product by product basis. We actually sold exactly 300 units in this period of time. And so if I can increase my prices by, say, 10%, then that figure is going to be 7,700 for that same 300 units. And then immediately that offsets this number here, and I'm a few £100 in profit, right? So a small tweak like that with our pricing is going to really help our profitability. So we're going to continue to slowly nudge that up because I'm still in investment stage and I'm not too concerned about that loss. I want to make sure that we maintain ranking, maintain momentum, right? So slowly nudge prices up, 50p here, £1 there, and that's going to improve it for us. Voucher rebates, there's not loads of room to maneuver on that because I'm a big proponent for keeping vouchers on your listings at all times, but I will reduce those percentages. Not everyone claims them, which is a funny thing. So, short term, we'll probably get that down to 3%, maybe long term 2%. So that's going to give us a few percentage points there too. FBA fees, these already include VAT, so that's not really going to change too much for the moment in time. However, don't forget that when we do hit £85,000 in revenue, then we'll register for VAT and be able to claim a whole load of this back. So we'll actually improve these numbers, historic numbers, although then of course we do have to adjust to paying VAT. So there's a few things to consider there. PPC, of course, is another big area that we want to optimize. Short term, long term, I definitely want to get it down to 10%. Short term, that's not going to happen because, again, we are in competitive markets. Our review ratio generally is relatively low. We're still building that up. So short term, the next 2 to 3 months, if I can get that down to 15%, I'm going to be cheering there. And then the final area that I'm really going to try and save on is my 3PL expenses. Short term, that will get down to 3% or less over the short term because now we're storing less of our goods. We've got over half of that initial batch of inventory into Amazon. As our stock limits are growing on Amazon, we can send more into Amazon. Of course, we do have to pay storage fees at Amazon. They're slightly cheaper at Amazon, but the biggest expense in that actually is not having to send more inventory into Amazon because our products are like a shoebox size and they are roughly around 40p per unit to send from our 3PL to Amazon. So as you can imagine, that 40p, 50p, that's a couple of percentage points in itself there that we're going to save because what we'll do next time is we'll actually send direct from our manufacturer to Amazon because our stock limits will have increased. We're starting to sell on Shopify this month. So what I'm going to do is rather than send it to a 3PL to fulfill our orders, actually going to fulfill them from Amazon for a while just to increase these numbers, just to watch our cash flow, make sure that we do get to a good level of profitability. I believe in investing in your brand, but I also believe you need to be frugal where you can. Invest in things that are going to grow your expenses, but be willing to cut back on things that aren't going to affect things too much. And our 3PL, fulfilling our orders through Shopify, would be a lot more automated, would be a lot more hands-off. But for now, we can set things up just to fulfill it through Amazon, just to save a little bit there. All in all, if we can do that, we're looking at saving around 8% here, 2% here, 5% here, and another 3% there, which all in is 18%. So if we can have in the next 3 months an 18% swing, it's going to start to give us 11% profit margin in the green, which you know, is going to be a great effort for a new brand establishing itself in a competitive market. Obviously, over the long term, if we can then add further percentage points and work our way towards 25% profitability over this year and start growing, you know, revenue to 20, 30, 40, 50,000, then that's going to start to become a really attractive, really healthy business. And super excited about the journey we're on, super excited about those numbers. Definitely lots to work on, definitely not all sunshine and rainbows. There's some challenges, facing some more challenges with Amazon right now, which I'll kind of document in a future video when we've kind of got some resolution and some learning points from it. There will always be challenges when you launch a business, but I love this game. I love this opportunity that we get to build a business that, you know, we've had a pretty modest launch, but still in 6 weeks nearly hit £10,000 in revenue. Not many businesses in the world that you can launch like that. So super exciting time to be involved. I hope this has been helpful for you. I know it may not have been the clearest breakdown, and this all up in here is a bit of a mess, but if anything hasn't been clear and you want to chat things through anymore, please feel free to leave a comment down below. I'll try and make this video shorter next month. I know there's a lot of explanation there, but I want to make it more than just the numbers. I don't want to just show you the numbers and say, there, deal with it. Those are the numbers, make of it what you will. I want to show you what we're working on, what you can work on, and show you what's working, what's not, and hopefully be as helpful as possible. So those are the numbers for March. I'll be back next month with a monthly income report, but I'll also be back next week with another video around building a brand that you own and a life that you love. Thanks so much for joining me on the video today. Don't forget, you can connect on the socials, all the links to our resources, everything we've got down in the description below, and I'll see you in the next video. Awesome.